I'm at the north of Nairobi, inside the home of Cyril Nabutola, a man who's worked in more than 3 different careers and now offers much of his time sharing his knowledge and experience with others.
This is a picture of our family.
The father of 3 lives here at this 4-bedroom house in Runda, where he hopes to spend the rest of his days. It's a house investment his family made more than 20 years ago that is now reaping big benefits for him. As Omariba, who owns his own half-acre plot, having moved into the estate in 2015, would however disagree with that statement. He would not tell us how much it costs to build this house, but he insists that he is a man of modest means.
So this is our dining room. This is our little son, Joseph. He's struggling with his lunch. Yes. Yeah. So this is the kitchen area. Then we have a laundry and pantry on the other side.
You have a big kitchen. Kitchen is the size of people's bedroom.
We actually don't spend much time downstairs, so most of the time we spend upstairs.
Yeah. And you did mention you have an office.
Yes, we have we have a little office.
For you?
Yeah, it's a home office that we all use. But at the moment, we are not.
Outside?
Yes.
To see that.
At the moment, we are not using it. But yeah, so this is, yeah.
So if I could ask,
yes,
how much would this cost me to live such a lifestyle? How much would it, on average, would it cost me to live this life?
You cannot do it all at once. You start, if you are able to get a piece of land, so buy the piece of land, then, you know, take a breather, get some cash, take loans, then do the construction. What I normally advise people is once you start construction, for heaven's sake, don't stop. Because once you stop, then you're bleeding money. Just do the house until it gets to a level that you can move in.
Even though Lucas remained non-committal in revealing the true cost of living in Runda, Cyril, on the other hand, admits it indeed requires great financial might to call this place home. If, for instance, you were to put this house on the market right now, how much would it cost?
I would want to at least 100 million.
100 million?
Yes. At least 100 million, yes.
It's a lot.
Yes, it is.
According to the House Consult Index, the average rent rate for a house in Runda is 328,000 shillings a month. Land value is nothing less than 80 million shillings for an acre parcel. The high property value in Runda is no coincidence at all. This entire area became a hotbed for real estate development in the early 1970s after Kenya won the bid to house the United Nations Environment Programme headquarters. Demand for housing for the delegation and expatriates who would work at the United Nations Environment Programme would lead the Pan-African Insurance Holding Limited, now known as Sanlam Limited, to kickstart construction of Phase 1 of Runda Estate in 1972. In the 8 years leading up to 1980, My Properties built Old Runda with houses quoting on 1 and 2 acres before developers got half-acre plots in Runda Phase 3 in the early 1990s. Phase 1, which comprises of what is now known as Old Runda and Runda Mimosa, initially comprised of 50 housing units, but now has 1,200 homes. Back then, even before independence, Runda was a coffee estate owned by various coffee companies who had minimal housing for their staff in the area with 3 coffee processing factories. Now, houses dot the nearly 600 acres that make up the entire Runda area, with newer housing developments like Runda Mumwe coming up. Residents like Lucas and Cyril live in what is known as New Runda Estate, comprising of 250 housing units. The houses were built in half-acre plots by the Kenya Commercial Bank and sold to buyers in 1992.
And I think the effort was for the bank to try and find new ways of being able to, one, obviously get new revenue streams, but even more important is to provide an opportunity for those Kenyans that perhaps preferred to live in areas that had a more sort of comfortable atmosphere and they could afford it to be able to come and live in a place like this. And that meant therefore that you're basically living or moving away from the ordinary estate sort of atmosphere that we have in a lot of locations. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you are picking a place that gives you a bit more depth and outlook, that gives you some comfort and space.
The favorite is my outdoors.
Oh, you love the outdoors.
I love the outdoors.
Comfort and space is what you find in plenty in Runda Estate. That, alongside several embassies and diplomatic residences that enhance the exclusivity of the entire neighborhood.
We have governors living here. We have got CSs, senators, MPs, and judges too. Yeah. And also we have got embassies operating from here, the offices, the residents, yeah, and members of the United Nations.
But in Runda, what you see is not always what you get. The neighborhood, though boasting of exclusivity, hides an intriguing past riddled with neglect and underdevelopment. Judy Undisa might as well be the most popular resident of Githogoro slums. Apparently, Runda, where many residents live in affluence, has less fortunate neighbors just next door. This is where many of the African manual laborers who picked coffee in the coffee farms where Runda Estate now is lived prior to Kenya's independence. Judy's parents was among them.
Uzuri ilikuanga nzuri hapo nyuma. Saa hii hata mimi hivi siwezi pita pale saa 4 ya usiku. Hiyo ni uongo. Saa 5 siwezi kukuja kwa nyumba yangu. Hata mimi moja nilitoka nyumbani nikashuka saa 6 town. Mimi nilikuja. Kufika pale kwa Nduma nasikia pap. Kufika pale naona watu wamekuja. Kukuja vijana wanasema huyo ni mama Chuchu. Na kama hangekuwa mama Chuchu, bangemfanyaje?
The population of the slum, which was home to African coffee workers, has doubled, and with it led to the stretching of utilities in this area. Street lights don't work here anymore, and poverty is choking the area into despair. Judy, better known as Mama Chuchu here in Githogoro, invites us for lunch. It is the first meal of the day she's having, never mind the fact that it was nearly 4 p.m. when we were filming.
Nililipa hii nyumba shilingi 60. Saa hii nalipa 2,500. Mwaka hii nitalipa 3,000.
Wanaongeza tena.
Wanaongeza.
At the barber shop, Jackson Otieno shaves his second customer of the day. It's a job he does to supplement the meager income he gets as a gardener in one of the houses in Runda. He occasionally gets clients from the estate to shave.
Wengine wanakuja hapa Githogoro, ni wasetu huko. Wakikuja tunajua bei tunawanyoa nayo. Lazima ikuwe juu.
Unaweza wanyoa na pesa ngapi?
Kama 100 ikienda mbele huko.
Na mkazi.
Mkazi wa hapa 40-50.
How two next-door neighbors can lead such contrasting lives is no surprise to the residents here. In fact, those in Githogoro say, as much as Runda residents have helped employ some of them, social ties between the two groups of people have remained blurry at best.
Hawa dosi kwanza wakupendi. Wanasema sisi wote ni wizi tuhame hii kijiji. Wale watu hapa wanatakanga tuhame. Githogoro Runda wakutaki. Na sisi ndio tunawafanyia kazi. Sasa tunashindwanga sisi wizi tukihama, nani atafanyia hawa kazi? Na wanatakanga kukuhamisha by force.
We are just members of a community living together, trying to find the best way we can coexist for development, for infrastructure, security, and just making sure that every resident gets the best life possible for them, their children, and their families to come.
And the best life here is not only ideologized, it's realized through grand statements of intent. None is more grand than being able to operate, manage, and run your own water supply system. In Runda, well, at least in Old Runda and Runda Mimosa, residents do not depend on the Nairobi Water Services for their daily supply. That need is instead serviced by the Runda Water Company, which started operations here on October the 5th, 1973. From the pre-sedimentation tank, the water which originates from River Ruaka is brought here to the water treatment works, where step 2 of the process commences.
What happens at the sedimentation tank?
At the sedimentation tank, we ensure that all the sediments which could not settle down at the raw water tank, they are settled here, and then what we are now pumping through the filters is water which we can say is clean. You can even see with your eyes that this at least it's clean. It is not the dirty water we've been getting from the river. Yes.
Okay. The water is then passed through these tanks for purification before it's distributed to the over 1,200 houses in Old Runda and Runda Mimosa for use. But the same cannot be said about New Runda and Runda Mumwe, whose residents solely depend on Nairobi water for their supply. Water in this side of Runda comes twice a week, not enough to quench the thirst of the many who need it.
It's erratic.
Oh,
it's
not
erratic.
regular.
Yeah, you know, if you go to the schedule like they gave us for, they published a schedule last month, and they were saying we'll get 24/7. But we've been getting probably once a week. It comes overnight. So what we do is, you see all this area, this is an
it's an underground
water
reservoir.
tank. Yeah, reservoir.
How many liters can it hold?
There are actually 2 tanks. They are separated. There's a separation. So this one here we store rainwater, and this gets the municipal water. This is about 40,000 liters, and this is 60,000 liters for rainwater. Yeah.
Back at Runda Water, systems continue uninterrupted 7 days a week, supplying every home with a much-needed commodity. Runda Water is a registered water service provider regulated by the Ministry of Water and Irrigation and the Water Resources Management Authority.
Let me ask you, in terms of operational costs,
Yes.
how much does it cost you to run this water system?
In a month, it costs between 3 to 4 million Kenya shillings
Just to run this water
to
system?
run the system.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes, because first of all, you have the chemicals, you have the power, you have the employees.
About 1.3 million shillings is used per month on electricity alone, an amount catered for by the residents who contribute 3,700 shillings monthly service charge that goes to, among other things, ensuring the estate remains safe and secure.
That's Old Runda and Mimosa.
Samuel Mwangi is the head of security of an estate that has 12 security checkpoints, enough to boost peace and harmony here.
We have a total of 22 cameras. There is room for improvement. We want to add more cameras. Of course, you know, you can expect that it's expensive. It's an expensive exercise. So it's, we move in stages. But currently where we are, we have done 22 of them. And most of the barriers, all of them have cameras.
Which are monitored 24/7?
Yes, they are monitored 24/7.
But the smooth operations in Runda are facilitated by a strict code of conduct that all residents have to adhere to. For instance, motorbike operators are only allowed into the estate once they have registered with the association and are given unique identification numbers for operation.
We have a way in which trucks come in only between certain hours, and even then when they do, it's through an understanding and a sign-off by either the resident or the security personnel who sort of relate with us in a manner that's acceptable. So we don't have that sort of difficulty. That's one. Two,
we don't allow people to burn the garbage when they trim their hedges or their flowers. The garbage company, the company providing that service comes and takes that, they compost it, and once in a while they bring it back as manure.
As you can see, we do not have shops in the estate. The shops you can see are outside the estate. Also for security reasons. Majorly it's security.
The 14 square kilometer parcel of land that hosts arguably Nairobi's most revered estate no doubt gambles its existence on a tricky balance between poverty and plenty.
Every estate has its different characteristic, its different culture, its different code.
yes.
What is Runda's code? What is Runda's culture?
I think it's one where we appreciate the environment. I think that's the sense that you get when you are here. You will not find people being careless about, for instance, littering on the streets or their homes for that matter. Their homes perhaps very individualistic because it depends on your own sense of care about your atmosphere immediately around you. But there's a very big sense of environment protection and safety. There's a big sense of looking at reaching out to be able to be available for your neighbor and beyond.
We take our security quite seriously. So when you see the high gates and the dogs are pets. They are not security.
Nalimianga watu nafulia watu lakini nakula sukuma na mimi nashiba. Kwa sababu serikali ya saa hii ni ngumu na ni rahisi. Kwa sababu nikitaka wewe unipe, huwezi kunipa. Kila kitu nitosheke nayo. Lakini ile mimi napata 100 yangu. Nina budget. Sukuma si unaona hii ni ya dhati. Siweki nyanya, siweki kitunguu, si watoto wangu wajukuu yangu watakula. Na unga ni ya kushaga, si nimeshiba. Sasa ni nini ingine mimi nataka duniani hii? Tosheka na ile unayo. Ukitaka mingi mtanipeleka jera. Sitaki jera. Jera ni mbaya.
For area code, I am Timothy Otieno.